I keep telling people, Foundation Black Americans, this is not our fight. This is not our business. Stay away. And now Don Lemon is learning that the hard way. No pun intended.
The price of freedom is death. We're coming to get our check.
Welcome, my brothers and my sisters. How you all doing this evening? I've been having, one of them days. You know what I'm saying? It's been one of them days, but I'm glad to be here with you all. We're going to get started, okay? Because we know about the whole Minnesota thing. Everybody's, outraged and everybody's protesting, and there's a lot of ruckus and things like that. And former ex-CNN journalist Don Lemon has gotten himself in some trouble. Before we get started with that, let me just reiterate something that I've been saying all last year, something that I'm saying right now. Foundational Black Americans, and to my knowledge, Don Lemon is one. Stay out of this situation. This is not our fight. It's not. I keep trying to tell people that, and they're learning the hard way. There's a couple of lessons that we can learn from this. All right. So I'm not going to keep you guys before we get started. But before that, I would ask you, just humbly speaking, if y'all could hit that like button, just please do it if you guys want to, and hit that notification bell and hit that subscribe button. All right. So let's get started. So Don is out in Minnesota now. He's from New York. He flew to Minnesota to do his thing. Cool. Great. Now, Don is in Minnesota. He's doing his journalist thing. Now he's outside. Now, this is before they go into the church. Don claims he does not know where they were originally going. All right. This is him. Hold on. Let me pull this clip up real fast. Okay. Hold on.
Into Minneapolis a little bit ago and did some reconnaissance on the ground, speaking to an organization there that's gearing up for resistance and protest. I've been pleasantly surprised to see the community coming together. Diverse community. If you see this, when we first pulled up, we're like, wait a minute, which operation are we at? And as it turns out, because we're like, well, this is kind of MAGA coded, right? So the American flag or whatever, but these are resistance protesters. They're planning an operation that we're going to follow them on. I can't tell you exactly what they're doing, but it's called Operation Pull Up. And it's Takima Armstrong, and she has been doing this since George Floyd, Dante Wright, and others, where they surprise people, catch them off guard, and hold them to account. And so that's what we're doing here. And then after we do this operation, you'll see it live. And these operations are surprise operations. Again, you can't tell you where they're going.
Okay. So can't say where they're going, right? Can't say where they're going. He's going to claim later that he didn't know, but all right, we're going to play the clips so we can have context. We're going to just play it. This is what happened at the church. We're going to get to, because there was a couple of videos. Hold on. There was a couple of videos at the church. So this is, let me show you this one. Hold on. Where is it? The one from the church. No. I saved it here. Hold on. Okay, hold on. Okay, there it is.
Renee Good! Renee Good! Renee Good! Renee Good! Renee Good! Don't shoot! 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 Shame! Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Where are your people? Why are you not at Whipple every day fighting for the humanity, standing for our people? Where are you? You drink your coffee, you got your jewelry, you have your nice clothes, but what do you do? What do you do to stand for your Somali and Latino communities? I'm not going to comment. You have no comment, exactly. Say your name! Say your name! Renee Good! Renee Good!
Freedom! We have a duty to win! We must love and support one another!
All these comfortable white people who are living lavish, comfortable lives while children are dragged into concentration camps. You're living real life, nice lives with your lattes, doing absolutely nothing for your Latino and Somali brothers and sisters. You come here to a man wearing a suit. Is a preacher? Did Jesus wear a suit? Did Jesus profit off the words? No! Jesus would dine with immigrants. Do not touch me. Touch me again and see what happens.
Hey, you can't.
You are a fake Christian. Why are you not standing with your Somali and Latino communities? Why do I not see you out at Whipple every day protesting this attack on humanity? Where are you? You're sinners. You're pretending to be Christians. But we know you live an easy life, don't you? A very easy life while people are starving. Shame. Out now. Out now. Living real comfortable while the people starve. Living real comfortable while children are dragged into concentration camps. You're all living real comfortable, aren't you? Shame on you. Do something. Stand with the Somalis. Stand with the Latinos. Quit ignoring this injustice. He wears a suit and tie and he hangs out with Christy Nome. How is that a Christian? You're supposed to accept all immigrants, are you not? Why are you not going down to Whipple and joining us in protest against this inhumanity? You claim to be a Christian. Act like one.
Okay. Look, man. That is unhinged. I can't even express it. There's not a better word for that. That is unhinged behavior. Okay. Whether you're a Christian or whether you're not a Christian, you understand that there is a time and a place for certain things. Running up in somebody's church during service is Christian or not, that is beyond inappropriate. All right. That is insanely beyond inappropriate. Now, Don Lemon was there, and Don Lemon was also giving commentary too. I want to save my commentary until after I play all of the clips, because I don't want it to get too far in. Okay, so this is Don. Come on.
Beginning of what's going to happen here. When you violate, this is the beginning of what's going to happen here. When you violate people's due process, when you pull people off the street, you start dragging them and hurting them and not abiding by the Constitution, when you start doing all of that, people get upset and angry. And if you remember what the Civil Rights Movement was about, the Civil Rights Movement was about these very kinds of protests. There's nothing in the Constitution that tells you what time you can protest. You can protest at any time. That's the whole point of it, is to disrupt, to make uncomfortable. And that's what they're doing. And that's what I believe when I say everyone has to be willing to sacrifice something. You have to make people uncomfortable in these times. If you see how uncomfortable people uncomfortably.
Okay, that's the end of that clip. Okay. You got to make people uncomfortable during those times. The thing that, and it should offend all of you all. It should offend every single last one of you all. The thing that bothers me the most about, first off, that whole thing is the fact that he had the audacity to bring up the civil rights movement in relation to what he's doing. That didn't go on in the civil rights movement, and we were really being oppressed, okay? We were not fugitives of the law, all right? We were not in somebody else's country illegally. These people are in another country that's not their country of origin, all right? And if they get checked, okay, they know the process. They knew the process coming over here. We're supposed to, according to Don and all of them, they're supposed to get some type of privilege and exception to the law. All right. We were the ones had our children being ate up by dogs, canines, sprayed by water hoses. Not the ones you have in your garden when you're trying to water your plants and things. I'm talking about the ones firefighters use to put out fires, buildings that are on fires, and they're spraying kids down. Do you understand how powerful a firefighter's fire hose is? A lot of us really it's kind of difficult to understand that unless you've actually seen it, but I've seen it. Okay, this is not water that if you spray somebody you'll get like soaking wet. I'm talking about water pressure that is so strong it can leave bruises on you. I'm talking about water. Have you ever been sprayed? I know I haven't, and I'm going to be honest with you. I don't want to. Can you imagine? I will if I have to, but I don't want to. Can you imagine? Now, I'm a water cannon that is so powerful, it can literally knock a grown adult off his feet. Like, you literally cannot stand if this is being sprayed on you, if you're being shot by this. A water that is so powerful, it can start tearing your clothes off. Can you imagine that? All right. And then imagine that happening to children. I don't see Hispanic immigrants going through that. I don't see that. If anybody has any clip of that, show that to me. Before you invoke the civil rights movement, show me that. Show me that. Show me where the Somalians are getting bit. Somali children are getting ate up by canines. Show me that. Show me where ICE has their batons and they're just beating women down. Show me that. If you can show me that, then okay, then I can be like, yeah, this is kind of reminiscent of the civil rights movement. All right. And even still, what makes this worse? What makes that worse is even still, Dr. King wasn't talking about going into their churches during service, interrupting their churches during service. None of Dr. King, Malcolm X, the Nation, the Black Panther, none of them took it that far. None of them did. The farthest was a sit-in at a diner. That's the farthest they would go as far as like sitting in. All right. But they would, Dr. King, if he was alive today, we just had Dr. King Day a couple days ago. If Dr. King was alive today, he would be appalled at people doing this. He would not approve of that at all. At all. Would he approve of you? That is not the right way to get your point across, your message across. You look radical. You look like an extremist. You're not getting anybody on your side. All of you all look unhinged. Y'all look unhinged. Talking about, why are you not protesting with your Somali brothers and sisters? Why are you not doing that? Why are you not doing that? Don has a lot of nerve bringing up the civil rights movement. He does. Because they weren't even doing that during the George Floyd uprisings. Remember? That's when Don was working with CNN at the time before he was fired. They didn't even do that. We weren't running into people's churches and disrupting the churches because that officer was like a former officer or something like that. Even if you wanted to hold him accountable, that's not the time. There's a time and a place to do that. But look, hold on. Don, he had a conversation with the pastor. The pastor kicked him out.
Think of it.
What happened?
I mean, this is unacceptable. It's shameful.
What do you think of this?
I mean, this is unacceptable. It's shameful. It's shameful to interrupt a public gathering of Christians in worship. So,
but there were folks who will say,
I have to take care of my flock.
okay, but listen, we live there's a constitution in the First Amendment to freedom of speech and freedom to assemble and protest.
Yeah. We're here to worship. We're here to worship Jesus because that's the hope of these cities. That's the hope of the world is Jesus Christ.
I want to be very respectful. Please don't push me, though.
We're here to worship Jesus.
Yes.
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why we're here. Okay. That's what we're about.
Don't you think Jesus would be understanding
we're about
and love these folks?
We're about spreading the love of Jesus.
But did you try to talk to them as a Christian?
No one is willing to talk.
Okay.
I have to take care of my church and my family, so I asked that you actually would also leave this building.
You don't want us to chronicle what happened?
Unless you're here to worship.
I'm always worship. I'm a Christian.
We're here to worship.
Yeah.
We're here to worship. Okay.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay, you see that? So Don was all on board. Don was 100% on board. This is insane. Okay, now Don got into some trouble. This is Don stepped in at this time. Hold on, let me show you. I guess I gotta scroll all the way up. It says DOJ civil rights chief blasts Don Lemon for covering anti-ICE protests inside a church, vows charges against protesters. All right. Now, before we get started, let me just bring this up. Because we're not going to read the whole article, but before we get started, let me bring up the fact that this was not Don's idea. But who's facing the blame? I tell y'all, you need to stay out of this situation. Okay? Following behind these crazy ass white liberals, following behind them, now you're going to get charges on you. You potentially you can have your whole career blown over some stuff and they're going to get a slap on the wrist for all of that. All of the wilding that they doing, they're going to get a slap on the wrist for it. We're going to just look at this a little bit. It says the Justice Department will pursue charges related to a protest in a church at St. Paul, Minnesota. Assistant Attorney General Dillon said Monday, specifically calling out ex-CNN journalist Don Lemon for his coverage of the event. Okay. Yeah. All right. She called him out specifically, even though he's not the one who organized it. Just keep that in mind. When you thinking you cool with these white liberals, you gonna face consequences that they won't. All right. Y'all not really on the same side like that. Just keep that in mind. It says in an interview with the conservative influencer Benny Johnson, Dillon, the Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights, said journalism is not, quote, a shield for, quote, criminal conspiracy. Now, to call this a criminal conspiracy is stretch. I mean, okay, all right. All right. I mean, that's a criminal conspiracy is all right. Damn. It says Don Lemon himself has came out and said he knew exactly what was going to happen inside the facility. Dillon said, she said on, quote, The Benny Show. He went to the facility and then he began, quote unquote, committing journalism as if that's sort of a shield from being an embedded part of a criminal conspiracy, isn't it? So she's there. Apparently there's charge, and that's all we're going to get to it. Don, the DOJ, is saying that they're going to look into charges for Don Lemon. They're going to look into some charges for Don Lemon for criminal conspiracy. Now, let me say this. Before we get to Don's response, let me say this. And I'm going to say this a couple of times because I want this to really resonate. Don thinks that just because he's sleeping with a white man means he kind of is a white man. He is not a white man, Don. You are not a white man no matter how much you like him, no matter how much you sleep with him, and no matter how much you love him. You're not. Okay? Now, going back to this clip originally. Oh, not that clip. Hold on. Not that one. This one. Going back to this clip.
Minneapolis a little bit ago and did some reconnaissance on the ground, speaking to an organization there that's gearing up for resistance and protest. I've been pleasantly surprised to see the community coming together. Diverse community. If you see this, when we first pulled up, we're like, wait a minute, which operation are we at? And as it turns out, because we're like, well, this is kind of MAGA coded, right? Saw the American flag or whatever, but these are resistance protesters. They're planning an operation that we're going to follow them on. I can't tell you exactly what they're doing, but it's called Operation Pull Up, and it's Sakima Armstrong, and she has been...
I think he says Sakima or Lakima Armstrong. Okay. Just notice, why is the DOJ not targeting the woman who orchestrated the whole thing? Even before Dom, even if you want to say, well, Dom has the biggest profile, Dom didn't orchestrate it. Don said he was just doing what's on board. He was just on board for it. As wrong as that is, as much as Don should have known better, Don didn't orchestrate it. Think about that. Now you got all of those white people out there. Now, in relation to what Dom did, even though we're not giving him a pass, y'all saw that white dude out there wilding. He looked like he wanted to fight. He was following people outside. He was threatening people. But yet the focus is on the black guy. He might have been one of the only black, there was probably only a handful of black people there. And he's the one that the attorneys are after. He's the one that they're all like, oh no, you don't get no pass. You don't get no excuse. They're putting charges on him, even though they know he's not the one who organized it. He didn't even help organize it. He just came and joined. They said, that one. Yeah, the black one, get him. What'd I tell you? Okay. I said we need to stay out of this because these white liberals are going to go out here and do crazy, wild things that, first off, is not helping their cause. I don't know if you guys think that busing into a church makes you look more moral, but I guarantee you it doesn't. Even the people who are not like, right, even the people who are moderate are going to look at that like that's crazy. There's a lot of people who are on the left like, yeah, that was way too far. That's too far. That is way too far. I don't know why y'all thought that that was a good thing. I don't know if y'all thought that there was going to be a whole bunch of illegal immigrants under the church or something. I don't know what y'all thought was going to happen. But okay. So he's gotten a lot of heat. And he came out with a video kind of splaining, acting as if, folks is getting mad and they're getting mad for no reason. And he really didn't have that much to do with it. So this is him splaining.
And the fake news MAGAs are losing their mind over something that's not even true. So let me just make it clear, because this assistant attorney general, I don't know, gosh, what's her name? Something Hammett, Dillon or whatever. So I had no affiliation to that organization. I didn't even know they were going to this church until we followed them there. We were there chronicling protests. Once the protest started in the church, we did an act of journalism, which was report on it and talk to the people who were involved, which included the pastor, members of the church, and members of the organization. That's it. It's called journalism. First Amendment, all that stuff. For all of you people who believe in the First Amendment, absolutist, there you go. So why don't you talk to the actual person who is in charge of the organization and whose idea it was to have the protests at the church before you start blaming me for stuff for which you have no idea. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Look, yo, Don is throwing people under the bus. He said, hey, this was not my idea. If you're going to get mad at anybody, get mad at her. She's the one who started it. She's if anybody's to blame, you need to get mad at her, not me. He's throwing people under the bus. This dude is pointing fingers. I hope you know never to commit a crime with Don. He's going to be the first one to testify. The prosecutor is going to be all like, is he in the courtroom? And then they're going to point it out. Can you point to the person he's going to be? It's right here. It was her idea. Don't do nothing with Don. He's not even gonna make it to court. He gonna have a plea deal at the desk. They're gonna be like, where were you? It was not mine, it was Sarah's idea. Okay, we took Benny's car and then we rode over there. We hit the body at Chris's house. I didn't do nothing. I was a journalist. I was just documenting what was going on, but it wasn't my idea. And it was because Michael owed Kevin money, and Kevin said he can't pay the drug dealer whose name is also Kevin, and he stays on 22nd and Wells Street. Like, Don is gonna rat everybody out. Okay. Don is gonna rat everybody out. And look. Not only is he gonna rat everybody out, he's gonna call it journalism. He's going to call it journalism. He's going to snitch on everybody. He's going to give addresses, phone numbers. He's going to set you up. Don is the type of person who will wear a whole wire and go commit a heist and then get everybody locked up and then be all like, whoa, hold on, guys. I'm not a snitch. I'm a journalist. All right. I was doing journalism. I'm not a snitch. I'm not a rat. I am a journalist. I have a First Amendment right to be a journalist. That's what I was doing. How it just so happened that my journalistic review in my investigation happened to coincide with the police investigation. That's it. That's all. I'm a journalist, and that's what I do. So never to commit a crime with Don. All right. Just know that. But let's go back, okay? Because there's a couple of things I want to break down with the whole thing. There's a couple of things.
A assistant attorney general, I don't know, gosh, what's her name? Something Hammett, Dillon or whatever. So I had no affiliation to that organization. I didn't even know they were going to this church until we followed them there. We were there chronicling protests. Once the protest started in the church, we did an act of journalism, which was...
Okay, Don, stop, because you're lying. And you're trying to walk it back as if you didn't do anything wrong because you are scared. The whole idea and the threat of somebody pressing charges on you, now you sit up there walking it back. Well, I didn't know we were going to the church. Well, in the video, you didn't really express you didn't know you were going to the church. You only expressed that you couldn't tell people where you were going. It's very important to take everything into consideration because he didn't say in this video.
But these are
right
resistance
here.
protesters.
Listen to this last part.
That after we do this operation, you'll see it live. And these operations are surprise operations. Again, you can't tell you where they're going.
Okay. He said he can't tell you where they're going. He did not say he did not know where they were going. He just told the camera, I can't tell you, because I guess they were having a live segment and they were going to turn the camera off and on and all of that. Don knew where they were going. You think he would just follow them up anywhere? He knew where they were going. He just said, I can't tell you where they're going. Now he's going to circle back and he's going to be like, I didn't know. It wasn't my protest. It wasn't my idea. I had no idea. None. No idea where they were going. Okay, fine. Let's say we believe that. Let's say we do. Let's say that. Don, when you did, because you had to realize, when you realized they were going to a church, nothing clicked in your head and be like, oh, wow. Yeah, I can't do this. This is not right. Nothing at all. You knowing you got a lot to lose. You knowing you're probably out of everybody who was there, more than likely, because you're the only one anybody's talking about of the protest, you have the highest profile there. So you're the most notable person there. You know that. You know better. Don is not new to journalism and stuff like that. He knows what's appropriate and what's inappropriate. At the point of, damn, we're running up in a church. You didn't think like, I don't feel comfortable with this. I don't feel comfortable. As he was claiming he's a Christian, that didn't strike you as inappropriate. That didn't strike you as something wrong at all. Even if you didn't know beforehand, you're still just as wrong. Because you were in there, you were chopping it up. You was in there almost
of what's going to happen here. When you violate people's due process, when you pull, this is the beginning of what's going.
I want you to listen to this. Listen to Don's tone. Listen to what he's saying. Do you think that Don did not know what was going on? Honestly.
Going to happen here. When you violate people's due process, when you pull people off the street, you start dragging them and hurting them and not abiding by the Constitution, when you start doing all of that, people get upset and angry. And if you remember what the Civil Rights Movement was about, the Civil Rights Movement was about these very kinds of protests. There's nothing in the Constitution.
The Civil Rights Movement was about these very kinds of protests. No, it was not. The cause was not the same, nor were the protests. But anyway, Don, it sounds like you're approving of this. It sounds like you're giving your own 2 cents in the protest about people being uncomfortable and about you approving of what the protest was doing, of what the protesters were doing. Don, you approved of it in this video. Okay, you told on yourself. You don't even have plausible deniability out the window that you didn't know and that you were against this. You made it seem like, well, I mean, I'm just doing my job. I'm just being a journalist doing my job. No, Don, your commentary snitched on you. Don's whole commentary snitched on him because Don's saying, man, this is pretty much, this is what you get. This is what happens, shows that he first off approves of the whole thing, which takes away from the credibility that he didn't know what was going on. He had no idea. He had no clue what they were going to do. It takes that, the whole thing that's out the window. That's out the window. If we believed you then, we don't believe you now. Not after that video. No. So this is what I'm saying. And I'm going to say this one last time. Probably not one last time. Probably going to say it again a couple more times. Just so y'all know. I need us to understand that this is not our fight. And y'all going out there doing this rogue, insane, borderline extremist protesting. These are protests that we weren't doing back during the Civil Rights Movement. These were protests that we weren't doing back during the George Floyd uprising. These are wild, extremist, radical protesting that we need to stay far away from. We shouldn't be in sight of any of this. Not only because it's crazy and it doesn't help anything, but because when it's time for consequences, as we can see with Don Lemon, they're pointing at you. They're going to skip past all of the people who actually organized it, all of the people who were more radical, more dangerous, more extremist, and they're going to look and be like, oh, a Negro, bring him here. That's what they're going to do. That's what they're going to do. And that's what they're doing right now. This is a case study. Don Lemon, and even if he does get charges or doesn't get charges, I'm not wishing bad on him. I'm just saying whether he does or doesn't, the fact that the DOJ is looking at Don Lemon and everybody's talking about Don Lemon instead of all of the white folk out there, the fact that they're looking at Don Lemon is a perfect example as to why we need to not be anywhere around this. Because when it's time for consequences, they're looking at black people they're going to make an example of Don Lemon for a protest he didn't organize. He didn't organize. He's not even affiliated with the organization, but they're going to make an example out of you. Okay. You think sleeping with white men makes you white, and it doesn't. Now, in order to save himself, because Don is just getting roasted, he just getting drugged, right? Getting drugged. Nicki Minaj has something to say about Don, and Don pulled out his inner FBA to address Nicki. I think this was interesting.
And asking me about responding to Nicki.
Now, Nicki, because the text is kind of small, so I'm gonna read it for you. Hold on. Why is this?
So people have been asking me about.
Oh, why can I not? Oh, okay. It's this one. Oh, wow. Didn't know I can do that. Okay. I'm trying to maximize the thing so I can see it, but it's okay. It's okay. She says, Don, private part sucking lemon. Y'all can read it if y'all can zoom in. Don, private part sucking lemon is disgusting. How dare you? I want that thug in jail. He would never do that to any other religion. Lock him up. All right. And that's what Nicki had said. Now, we know she's trying to appeal to MAGA, so, she's going to do this for brownie points. But this is what Don had to say about Nicki.
So people have been asking me about responding to Nicki Minaj's unhinged, homophobic tweet about me. I usually don't respond to this stuff, but let me just say this. Nicki Minaj, stop talking about shit for which you know nothing about. This is out of your depth, by the way, and you are a homophobic bigot. You don't care about African Americans. You're not an African American. From what I know, you are reportedly an undocumented citizen, so you should be deported under Donald Trump's rules. And the other thing is that your family members, you have one family member who is reportedly a sex offender, the other family member, your husband or whatever, a sex offender is your husband, and one of them is reportedly a pedophile. And you have nerve to talk about me and what you think that I do? Nicki Minaj, get a life. Stop being a pick-me. You should have put a pick-me doll on that damn tweet instead of a Chucky doll, because you are nothing but a pick-me. And I choose not to pick you. And so should black people, and so should gay people. Shouldn't buy your music. Clock that.
Okay. There's a couple of things to talk about with that one. Okay. So essentially, he just called Nicki Minaj a tether. Y'all. Now, him pointing out that Nicki Minaj is not, he didn't say she's Trinidadian, but him pointing out that Nicki Minaj is not African American, right? Essentially is pointing out the fact that Nicki Minaj is not of our lineage. Now, that's interesting. Don't you think? Don't you think that's interesting? Because that's delineation. Am I right? Did Don Lemon just delineate from Nicki Minaj? Is Nicki Minaj not a black woman to Don Lemon? I mean, what does it matter? Hold on. Because these will be the same people who will tell us, well, what does it matter if she's an African American or not? He used that term on purpose, right? What does it matter if she's they'll tell us that. But notice how everybody's starting to really get it. They don't want to admit where they got it from. They got it from us. They got it from us. They got it from me. They got it from you. They got it from us. But they don't want to admit that. They're never going to admit that. But notice how everybody is starting to draw a line, because this is a whole cultural renaissance. Everybody's drawing this line, whether they want to admit where they got it from or why they are doing it or not. They're doing it. They're drawing that line. They're drawing that line, baby. Okay. And this is what Don is doing. He pulled out his inner FBA. He said, hey, you need to get deported. And Don didn't do it one time. He did it a couple times. Let me pull this clip up. Don's delineating for real. Hold on. Oh, wait, come on.
She is undocumented, and so she has shown her disdain for African Americans. Nicki Minaj has made it very clear how she feels about African Americans in this country. For I don't think she's one of them, obviously. And she should, under Trump's rules, she should be deported, because I don't think, reportedly, that she is a legal citizen here. She is undocumented. And so she has shown her disdain for African Americans. So why are you supporting her? Why are you buying her records? She's also supporting, I have lots of gay friends who love Nicki Minaj. Why are you supporting this homophobic, bigoted, ignorant woman? You should not be supporting her. Nicki Minaj, this is clearly out of her depth. She doesn't understand politics. She doesn't understand journalism. And I'm not surprised that she is weighing in on something that is beyond her capacity. What I will say to her is, because she put a doll, I think she put the Chucky doll in there, a better symbol that should have been represented in that picture is a pick-me doll, because Nicki Minaj is a pick-me. She will do anything that is expedient for her politically. And again, she's ignorant. She doesn't know what she's talking about. She's always weighing in on things that she doesn't know about. Nicki Minaj should just sit the fuck down. And by the way, isn't she married to an alleged pedophile? And she has the nerve to say something disparaging about something homophobic. I'm pretty sure that maybe that's part of the reason that she is cozying up to the Trump administration for some sort of leniency for her family members. And it's just very transparent. So Nicki Minaj, F off, stop being a homophobic bigot, and get a life and some brains.
Okay, we will leave it there. All right.
All right. Okay. Doing that diss, Nicki Minaj, all of that, right? All right. Now he said it twice. He's making a difference. Notice that this is the second time he brought up, Nicki Minaj and her disdain for African Americans, and he's saying that on purpose. And the reason why he's saying African American is because there's a cultural renaissance, and the word African American is really starting to be retired. Okay, it's starting to be used less and less, because when you start things socially, which is why everything is about culture first, because when you start waking people up socially and you start raising the consciousness of the society, then the policy and the legislation will follow after that. All right. That's how movements work. All right. Going back, let's take note of what happened with the civil rights movement. Going back there, that's how that movement was successful, because Dr. King, Malcolm X, all of these people had to preach first. Why did they have to do that instead of going for legislation? Let's take a look at Dr. King, right? Dr. King had to do that because he has to first raise the social consciousness of the community. And then once the social consciousness is raised, then he can have that force, that cultural force behind him. That cultural force is what gave him the leverage, what gave the protest the power, and what gave them the leverage. Malcolm X, before he made any demands, of course, they had to preach. The nation had to preach to raise the social awareness and awaken, really, the consciousness of the community. And this is really what we're doing here. So when people are like, y'all know I just beat the unamazing doofus, right? What are y'all doing? What are y'all doing? Y'all just had a rally for no reason? Y'all had a rally for no reason? What I don't see y'all doing nothing. I don't see you. Yeah, nobody was at the rally. Okay. This is the same thing. This is why anytime somebody talks about the rally, anybody says that the rally was ineffective and unsuccessful, clearly does not understand history, Black American history, and doesn't understand how movements really work and what makes movements successful. All right. Because what we are doing is what they have done, what has always worked. You have to raise the social consciousness, unlock that social consciousness, and clear up confusion. All right, and make things clear and easy to understand for the people. And that sparks resonate with people. That truth, speaking truth to power, it starts resonating with people. And then that gets people on board. That makes people want to change things. This is the whole thing of what we're doing. It wants people to change things. It makes people want to change things, right? That's what we're doing. All right. So this is what we have to do. The social awareness and the consciousness of people. Now, when it comes to the social awareness and the consciousness, you're starting to see it work. Even when it comes to, for instance, I can't play the clip because it's a copyright thing. Remember when Amanda Seales, when she had to check that one tether, what's his name? Matt Nuclear, right? Remember, she had to check him and talk about, hey, you can't talk about Black Americans and you're not a Black American. You can't remember she had to do that. Now Don is having to do that. These are people who are known to be on the left. These were people, remember, a few years ago, who were saying that delineation was divisive, that we as FBA, we were divisive and we were wrong and we were xenophobic. Now, let me ask you this, Don, you can correct her all you want to. Why are you bringing up the fact that she's a foreigner? Why are you bringing up the fact that she's an immigrant? Is that not xenophobic? Is Don Lemon being xenophobic? Is that xenophobia, Don? Is that what that is? What? Really? Don Lemon's being xenophobic? Really? So it's really not xenophobic. Everybody's getting it. Now, Don is on the left, and they're clinging on to the word African American because they want that word to be socially relevant. Because if it's socially relevant, it can stay politically relevant. Okay? As I was just explaining, the social element comes first. That's the first step to it. And then comes the next political step and all of that stuff. Since we, as foundational Black Americans, we have socially disbanded from that term. We've socially cut that term off. Okay? We've made the word African American or the term African American a taboo. Where if somebody says, hey, you know, us as African Americans, we'll stop you, be like, well, excuse me. With all due respect, we don't use African American no more. And the fact that we keep doing that, and we've been doing that consistently, people are really not using African American. The only time you even see anybody use African American is when you know they have an agenda to keep the term African American relevant. And on the left, which is what Dom is, he has his headmaster, because you know he has masters, slave masters, sex masters, all those types of masters, right? His masters want the term African American to be socially and politically relevant. So that's why they'll still cling on to that old term African American that socially has no relevance and politically still has relevance, but socially has none. Okay? At least for right now, because we're working consistently to get that done. That's why he used African American, and he keeps using that instead of Black American, because that's too far. Delineating is already much enough. Calling her a tether, even though he didn't say the word tether, he called her a tether. He called out tether behavior. So he called her one without calling her one. Okay, which means that Don knows what we're doing here. You think when we have these spaces and these lives and this stuff on YouTube, they don't know? They know. They all know. They all know that Roland Martin has called a bunch of people out by name anyway. They know. They know. They know. Don knows exactly what he's doing. And he's calling, and the reason why Don is doing this delineating, right? Somewhat. So it's not even delineating really, but it's like, you know, somewhat, you know, it's like diet delineating. It's like light delineating or something like that. It's not like fully delineating. It's like diet delineating. But okay, I digress. The reason he's doing that is because Don is in trouble. Don is in trouble. And Don is doing this because he understands the cultural renaissance that we're having. And they know that, okay, if I say this about Nicki Minaj, who is already on y'all bad side, and you're not even African American, how dare you speak on us? He knows that culturally he's trying to get some brownie points, okay? Because he needs the community to kind of back him up. If they start throwing charges on Don, he wants the community to be like, let that Black man go, let him go, freedom of speech, So that's kind of like, hey, FBA, you know, I kind of need you guys. I might need you. He's trying to prime the pump just in case. You know what I'm saying? He's trying to get in good just in case. You're like, just in case they're not really playing about this legal stuff. Let me put on my pro-Black jacket. Let me pick my hair out and throw my fist up real quick. Let me do that. Yeah, just in case. Yeah, because he knows he's in some trouble. Okay. He knows, you like, I don't know. He said, and the way, and let's be honest, he should have learned the last time. Let's talk about this. Why did Don get fired from CNN in the first place? Don got fired from CNN for making quote unquote offensive jokes to a white woman, or just making a statement to a white woman that, hey, you're aging. And when you age, your prime years are not in your 40s as a woman. Your prime years are not in your 50s. They said, oh, hell no. Now, of course, they were trying to get Don out of there, just like they're trying to get pretty much every black person out of there. Black American in particular. Okay? But Don should have realized, you're not white. You are not white. You're not white. Okay? I'm not talking about you've been suspended, you've been banned, you need to make an apology. I'm talking about you get a pink slip. Oh, yeah, you're not white, Don. I don't care what your husband or boyfriend or whatever tells you. Okay? You are not white, dude. Don had to learn that the hard way. And now I want to message to Don. Don't come crawling back over here. Don't try to invoke certain talking points that you might hear us say. Don't do that. Don't do that, because you're not doing that on our behalf. Notice he's calling people tethers and doing all of this and diet delineating. He's doing all of this, but you're doing this because you were in trouble fighting on behalf of illegal immigration. You are doing this fighting for them. It would be one thing if you were fighting for us. You got yourself in trouble, Don, fighting for illegal immigrants. Don't be bringing up our talking points and no, because we don't be doing what you're doing. Stay over there. Stay over there. We're not helping you. If you get in any trouble, you did that yourself. Whatever trouble you get in, that's all on you. That's all your fault. Don't be looking over here for no help. Don't do that. You weren't even doing this crazy, wild nonsense during George Floyd. And you're going to do this over Renee Good? You're going to do this over some immigrants who are being deported? He's making it seem like, yeah, civil rights are being violated. They're going there and they're kidnapping. Kidnapping is the incorrect word to use. Don't come over here asking for nothing. Don't come over here asking for nothing. We ain't doing no help. I don't want, because y'all know everybody on the left going to be like, oh my God, they're racially, watch him be black then. They're racially targeting Don Lemon. I mean, no. Don, stay over there. You should have known better, Don. You should have known better. Okay? You should have realized you weren't white when you got fired from CNN. Why did it take you a second time? Okay. Oh, you should have learned better. You should have known. Mr. I appreciate Missy. He says, Black First B1. I appreciate you. Thank you so very much for that. Appreciate you. Okay. And then IHC says, this showed zero forecast. Says, actions like this risk being real danger into black churches where people gather in large numbers. It was reckless. It is. I'm going to be honest. It is. And I'm going to keep it real with you. She is right. That does set a very dangerous precedent. And I'm going to be honest. If y'all don't want to do that to a black church, y'all know better to do that. Okay. Y'all know better. And I think that this sets a very dangerous precedent. And I think black churches need to be on guard. Because if anybody come work, I don't care if it's a black church, a black masjid, a black synagogue, whatever it is. If somebody come up in there running, I need us to remember who Dylan Roof is. Okay? I need us to remember who he is. I need us to remember who these people are right here. Somebody come running in there, they are a threat until proven otherwise. They are a threat, a dangerous, deadly threat until proven otherwise. Period. Point blank, period. Okay? They running in there, they're yelling, you don't know who it is. You got to do what you got to do and ask questions later. Okay? They are a threat until proven otherwise. Don't be doing it. Try it if you want to. Try that if you want to. Okay? Don knows better. So I'm not, look, he should have known. He should have known. Miss Nisi says, that's right, Afro. Unamazing doofus. I remember that. That's what I'm going to call him from now on. Unamazing doofus. Okay. Cultural superpower. Thank you very much, cultural superpower. I appreciate you. Now, Don today, just like an hour or so ago, was on his YouTube page. Okay. And he had something he wanted to say. So we're going to play that. We're going to show you what Don had to say. It's Don now.
The midterms cannot come fast enough. And I pray to God that we actually are able to have a midterm here in the United States, that we're actually able to have a free and fair election. Because if you look at what's happening on the streets every single day, Donald Trump doesn't care. And people are
now the fact that he said the midterms, I want you guys all to know all of this is in preparation for the midterms. All of this is in preparation. They're trying to get at least one chamber of Congress. Okay. More than likely, they're saying that they're going to try to get the House, more than likely. But they're trying to get Congress back. All right. So there's going to be a whole bunch of stunts, a whole bunch of extreme nonsense, radical nonsense. They're going to be fear mongering people. Now, it's interesting because I ain't heard nobody mention 2025, even though that was the big thing during the election. Oh, 2025. They're not saying anything. They're saying this now. They're trying to bring up this fear and invoke a whole bunch of fear. So there's going to be a whole bunch of stage protests, stage Black Panthers. We got to talk about him some more later on. So y'all make sure y'all subscribe so y'all come back tomorrow for that. There's going to be a whole bunch of stage stuff for that. All right. Because the midterms is coming up, and that's a very big deal. So, of course, you know the Black folk are going to be the sacrificial lamb for the midterms.
being bullied and beaten. And citizens are being caught up in it. You want some proof of it? Andy, can you please get me the police officers in Minneapolis, as they are talking about in Minnesota, who are talking about what is happening even to their own officers on the streets? I just want to give you a reality check right now about all the things that you're seeing, all the distractions, all the, let's do this, let's investigate this, let's do this, let's come out and stand with all the pictures, of the people and say, look at this criminal and look at that, whatever, without giving any proof of it, of who they are, or if they even have criminal records, without telling people how many people have criminal records, lying to people saying they're only picking up the worst of the worst and people who are bad. And then for me to go to Minnesota and even here on the streets of New York, to hear people saying, well, Don, they're only picking up the worst of the worst. This is Joe Biden's fault. And it's like, you're delusional if you believe that. It is not true. That's not what the facts show. Now, the Republican Party is supposed to be the party of back the blue. We believe in police officers, right? The police officers, law enforcement. That's what they say. Obey law enforcement out there, meaning the members of the military or the federal agents who are out on the streets. Obey, comply.
Now, let me give a correction. Let me give this correction to Don. They're only picking up the worst of the worst of the worst. No. Nobody said they're only going to be deporting the absolute worst of the worst, dangerous, violent criminals who are illegal here. Nobody said that deportations are strictly for them and for them alone. And if you don't have a violent record, because technically it is a crime if you're here illegally, okay? Whether you came in illegally or whether you're overstaying your visa, or that is a crime. So it is a crime either way. Is it a violent crime? No. Now, is the main target violent criminals? Yes. Are they the main ones that are being rounded up and picked up? Yes, they are. According to the websites that they are. However, let's say they're not. Remember, it was the Democratic Party and the mayors and governors and stuff saying, we're not letting any of them go. None whatsoever. Even the violent ones we're keeping in here for protection. Remember, it was Brandon Johnson. It was what's his name? Gavin Newsom. It was all of them saying that. This is what forces ICE to go into the cities. Now, because you're not sending them out, now ICE has to go in. And there's going to be collateral. There's collateral because you guys want to hide them. You're not even sending the dangerous ones out. So there's collateral. Yes, there is. Yes, there is. Okay. They're only going after the worst of the worst. No, who said only? When did they say only? When did anybody say the only people who are going to be deported are incredibly violent gang? When did anybody say only? No. And this is why you're not really fooling nobody, because during Trump's whole campaign, he was saying the millions of illegals that Biden let over here, he's sending them back. He said that. He didn't say, oh, out of the millions of illegals Biden let over here, I'm only sending the very violent ones back. He didn't say that. He said he's sending them back. Them, period. It wasn't them with qualifications on it. He said, I'm sending them back. And the American citizens voted for that reason. That was the primary reason. That was the primary reason why Harris didn't get in office, because they were sick of that. Not just the violent ones. They were sick of the mass illegal immigration, period. So he's going to sit up there and say, well, they said they were only getting the worst of the worst. No, they never said they're only getting them. All right. And this is something that you're going to start seeing the Democrats do. They only said that. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. Oh, hold on.
Now, these are some of the they are in the very same profession. They are in Minnesota, in the Minneapolis area. And this is what these officers are saying is happening. This is the truth. Listen, turn up the volume.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Mark Ruley, Police Chief of the City of Brooklyn Park. Behind me is a bunch of amazing police chiefs that are here in support of a very short but very important message that we want to share with you. What you won't hear from any of us today is rhetoric of abolish or that there shouldn't be immigration enforcement. The truth is, immigration enforcement is necessary for our national security and for local security. But how it's done is extremely important. In fact, we have a long history of working exceptionally well with our federal partners, including ICE agents, and we have seen the best of them perform their job extremely well in the past. With that said, recently, as the last 2 weeks, we, as law enforcement community, have been receiving endless complaints about civil rights violations in our streets from U.S. citizens. What we're hearing is they're being stopped in traffic stops or on the street with no cause and being forced to demand paperwork to determine if they are here legally. As this went on over the past 2 weeks, we started hearing from our police officers the same complaints as they fell victim to this while off duty. Every one of these individuals is a person of color who has had this happen to them. In Brooklyn Park, one particular officer that shared her story with me.
Person of color, okay? It's not no Black American. It's not FBA. FBA is not getting stopped and all of that stuff. It's not. If y'all could do me a favor too, if y'all could hit that that like button, they kind of playing with the numbers right now, because the numbers, I see the numbers on YouTube versus StreamYard. It's a crazy big difference. What you guys are seeing and what I'm seeing is very different. So they own it again. They doing that again. But it is what it is. Y'all can make sure y'all hit that like button. And if you guys are new, hit that subscribe button. I greatly appreciate that. Okay. He's saying, all right, let's let it continue.
Was stopped as she passed ICE going down the roadway. When they boxed her in, they demanded her paperwork, of which she's a U.S. citizen and clearly would not have any paperwork. Rhetoric and the way she was being treated, she pulled out her phone. In an attempt to record the incident, the phone was knocked out of her hands, prevented her from recording it. The officer had their guns drawn during this interaction. And after the officer became so concerned, they were forced to identify themselves as a Brooklyn Park police officer in hopes of slowing the incident and de-escalating the incident down. The agents then immediately left after hearing this, making no other comments, no other apologies, just got in their vehicles and left. I wish I could tell you that this was an isolated incident. In fact, many of the chiefs standing behind me have similar incidents with their off-duty officers. This isn't just important because it happened to off-duty police officers. But what it did do is we know that our officers know what the Constitution is, they know what right and wrong is, and they know when people are being targeted. And that's what they were. If it is happening to our officers, it pains me to think of how many of our community members are falling victim to this every day. It has to stop.
All right. Let me ask, before we get to Don and his response, let me ask y'all this, because I don't remember, so I'm asking you guys. Maybe you guys do. Has there ever been a time that you guys can recall where the police chief is up there on a podium calling out other officers for anti-black racism? He's saying we get calls about civil rights violations all the time. I'm listening to the civil rights violations. I'm like, damn, that sounds familiar. All of the stuff he just named, all of the stuff he just said, all of the incidents and scenarios. I'm like, oh, that sounds kind of familiar. It happens to black people all the time. I'm just join the club. I mean, welcome, I guess. It happens to us all the time. I'm like, this is just an average Tuesday for us. This is just what it is. And I don't see the police sitting up there be all like, this is unacceptable. The police chief calling out other law enforcement agents. Oh, this is unacceptable. This needs to stop. Their constitutional rights are being violated. This happened. This officer did this to this person, and then they did this to this person, and then this. They don't say that at all. They don't say that at all. Every single time an incident pops off, it's the farthest they'll say is, well, we do got to understand that, officers have a dangerous job, and we will do internal investigation, and we will find out exactly what happened. Thank you, good night, and then leave. All of this, you damn near acting, you're a police officer, damn near speaking like an activist for illegal immigrants. Must feel good. That's all I got to say. I mean, I'm not hating, but damn, must feel good. Y'all just getting a taste of what we're getting, and y'all get the police speaking on y'all behalf. Damn, that must feel good. Wow. We don't know what that's like. The police be the people out there being all like, we're trying to control these radical, dangerous, lunatic thugs in the street. That's what the police say when it comes to us. Oh, it must feel good. Okay. Just notice that. I ain't hating, but geez. You don't see that. You don't see them doing that for us at all, ever. But they doing that for illegals.
It has to stop. And that is a member of law enforcement saying that it's happening to his off-duty officers. Why would that man lie about that? Why would those officers lie about that? They're not lying. They're telling the truth. So if you're out there believing that it's just the worst of the worst, or, they're just doing it to people who have criminal records, or they're just doing it to people who are here or are undocumented, It's not true. They're doing it to American citizens. I've been telling you that since I went to Chicago, and even before I witnessed it for myself, just from looking at the facts. This is real. They're abusing people on the streets. They're not abiding by the Constitution. They're not abiding by due process. And I hear people all the time say, due process, what does that mean if you're illegal? It doesn't matter. If you're illegal or legal or whatever it is, that's not what we do here in the United States. We have a Constitution. We have a Constitution.
I want y'all to Google this, because I'm not just going to say anything that is incorrect. Google this. Legally speaking, ICE does not have to have a warrant to ask you for identification. They don't. They don't. They don't.
I don't know where my Constitution is. Maybe it's in my briefcase. But we have a Constitution. And it tells you explicitly what we're supposed to do. It gives us the rules of the road in articles, in amendments. The First and Fourth Amendment tell you explicitly how we're supposed to conduct ourselves and how we're supposed to treat others, but they're not abiding by that. So Donald Trump, Kristi Noem, Pam Bondi, and all of the people who are involved in this, Kash Patel, all of you, have you no shame? Don't you have a backbone? Don't you have a conscience? Or is your heart just filled with ideology? Instead of blood flowing through your heart, ideology? Is it just Republican talking points? Or is it just about your career? Or is it just about Kristi Noem appearing on a horse or whatever it is in a commercial in a cowboy hat with tons of makeup and her hair all done up? Is that what it's about for you? For all of you, for every single one of you? Don't you have don't you understand that we have a Constitution? You're always saying comply. You comply with the Constitution. Comply with the Constitution. Stop rounding people up and stop. And on top of that, stop lying about it. Sit down with the officer and those officers and those people in Minnesota, because if you're there, go sit down and talk to them and listen to their stories. Go sit down with the people who are there, who are being rounded up. Go sit down and talk to the protesters and hear their side of the story, and not just the MAGA faithful or what is it Gregory Bavino is telling you. Just because Barack Obama deported more people than you, it's not a contest, but for you it is, Donald Trump, because you are upset. Barack Obama lives rent-free in your head.
Well, and that's enough of that. That's enough. I can only take so much. I can only handle so much. Okay. Obama collectively did deport more people, right? He did. Was it immoral? They didn't make it seem like it was immoral when a Democrat was doing it. Deportation was not immoral. It was patriotic when a Democrat was doing it. Now that it is being done, now it's not patriotic. Now it's immoral. Now it's kidnapping. Things that they were not saying when Obama was doing it. Okay, they were not saying that this was unconstitutional kidnapping. Okay, but they're saying it now. All right. Also, we did not have to deal with dozens of millions of illegal immigrants coming in under the Obama administration. We did not have to deal with the problem we have now. Biden set up an unprecedented amount of illegal immigrants in this country. There's always been illegal immigrants in this country. Biden set an unprecedented. There's not been a country in the world, in world history, that has allowed in such a short amount of time, just open up the door, millions of people flooding into the country, flooding into the cities. You can't name another city in another country in the world, country in the world that's done that. Okay, there's not a country in the world that's dumb enough to do what Biden did, and everybody saw it. Everybody said that's too far. That's too much. We gotta hit the brakes. Even people, and I want y'all to understand, this is why they're not really having the success that they need to, because there's a lot of moderates who are looking like, man, I don't hate illegals. I don't hate immigrants. But y'all doing too much. Y'all went too far. Y'all push people too far. And even people who are more, I guess, liberal thinking, okay, more lenient towards immigration, they realized it was too far. There was a lot of people who were like, hey, man, I mean, I'm cool with some of them, but this was too much. That's what a lot of people are saying. So you're saying that, oh, Biden is doing, or Trump is doing this to show up Barack Obama? No. He's doing this because this is what he ran on. This was his biggest campaign. This is what he ran on. And Donald Trump is doing what he ran on. If people thought that it wasn't necessary, they wouldn't have voted. Now, mind you, I voted for the couch. Just so we can be clear. Because, you know, we had the caller the other day, you're a Trumpy. You're Trumpy. He said, I'm a Trumpy or Trumpies or something like that. Something like that. I voted for the couch. All right. But I know why people voted for Trump. They voted for Trump because they didn't want all these illegals here. They voted for Trump because it went too far. It was too much. That's why. That's so what? Yeah, that's why. Come on. So Don, yeah, all of that trying to act as if this is unconstitutional or immoral, you're going to see a whole lot of this go on because this is their biggest thing. This is their biggest thing to do before the midterms. Because in order for them to swing the midterms the way they need it to, they got to make it seem like the country is in a disaster. So any and every problem, they got to stretch it out. They got to stretch it out. Remember, with the government shutdown, the government was shut down because the Democrats refused to cooperate. It wasn't the Republicans. It was because the Democrats protested. Whether you agree or disagree, they marketed and they branded it as the Republicans shut the government down, not the Democrats, even though it was the Democrats who shut the government down, not the Republicans. The reason why they did it. They did it. Okay. They're going to do this all year. I'm letting you all know that all year long, they're going to be doing this. Okay. I saw this too, and I want to bring this up. This doesn't have really too much to do with Don, but I want to bring this up. Boy, here we go. You know, and I'm telling you, the midterms is crazy. Hold on. Y'all brace yourselves, because Jasmine Crockett, I saw this video of Jasmine Crockett, and I'm like, oh boy, let me report this back to the family. Here we go.
This is about us. It is about reclaiming who we are. They want to try to act like we are the outsiders, but the last time I checked, we ain't no colonizers. The last time I checked, they took us from our homeland. But this is the only home that we know. And they have sold us a promise of America that meant that we would all have an opportunity. But right now, a lot of people's dreams are being dashed. They are telling us that we are less than. I am here to tell you that we are more than, especially when we stand together. So I just got to say that I love my brother Tyrese. A lot of people don't know who it is that I do know because we have genuine relationships. It's a lot of people that really lack courage in this moment. Hey, listen, I'm gonna be in your city.
Come out on stage.
You gotta be here. And I was like, I may be in Houston because, you know, Oak Cliff, where you at? The Cliff know who I am, right? DeSoto, where you at? Yeah. GP, where you at? All right, so the point is, I know y'all in here, right? I know y'all know who I am, and I know that y'all know that I'm about this life. So I was supposed to be in Houston. Ty said, listen, you got to come back home to Dallas. So I done went all the way through East Texas But my God said, you are coming on stage with me. I see a lot of women up front. How many of y'all got your bestie with you? Right? Let me tell you, I love this man. I know y'all do, because y'all right up front. Y'all doing the most. I know y'all do.
They're not doing the most. That's love.
Want you guys to understand, y'all gonna see a whole bunch of that. That Tyrese did some type of conference or concert, I mean, and he bought out Jasmine Crockett. You're gonna see a lot of entertainers be plugged in. You're gonna see a whole bunch of it's gonna be Kamala Harris 2.0. You're gonna see concerts and Megan Thee Stallion and all of that stuff, and they're gonna bring out not Kamala Harris, not right now at least. They're gonna bring out Jasmine Crockett and all that. So it's gonna be a lot of celebrity stuff. Now, she said that we're not colonizers and they stole us from our home and all that stuff, but we're home. This is our home. And why are you bringing us up? Why are you bringing us up? Why does Jasmine, reason why I want to show you, because it wasn't much, but this is what bothers me. Why do you bring us up in our history as far as slavery? Why do you constantly keep invoking that if you're not going to do anything about that? Why do you keep on invoking slavery or Jim Crow or stuff that's happening to us as Black Americans, as foundational Black Americans, yet all of the actual policy and legislation and activism that you're willing to do goes to illegal immigrants? That's the part that offends me. If you're going to advocate for them, stay on that side. Don't be using our history as a talking point for their cause. Don't do that. And I'm so sick and tired of that. And you got celebrities allowing that to, don't do that. Don't do that. Okay? Because if you bring up slavery, you need to bring up reparations. But you mentioning slavery and you're not mentioning reparations is offensive. Don't bring it up unless you're really willing to talk about reparations. Which you could be talking about. You could be stumping just as hard for reparations as you do for illegal immigrants. I would almost give you somewhat of a light little pass, even though I would disagree. I would somewhat say something, or say less, rather, if you did both. If you were advocating for illegal immigrants and also advocating for reparations, I would still check you, but I would check you with a little bit of love. Instead of being like Jasmine, I'd be like Jasmine, kind of like that. I would correct you in lowercase. If you were about reparations, I would still correct you, just in lowercase. I wouldn't be with no exclamation points, just like a period at the end. Like, come on now. Instead of come on, I wouldn't ball my fist up. I'd just be like, come on. I'd be like that. I wouldn't even say it in front of people. I'd just bring you to the back and like, hey, sister. I call you sister. Sister, can I talk to you? Hey, you kind of tripping about them illegals. Come on now. Come on now. You're doing a little much. It'd be like that. It'd be like love, like family. But you don't even deserve that. She don't even deserve that. Okay? She don't even deserve that much, because you're going to bring up slavery and then not bring up reparations. No, absolutely not. I think that video, that just reminds me of what the Democrats are going to be on this year. What Don Lemon did, what Jasmine Crockett did, this is reminding me of what, especially because it's a midterm year, especially because that, and they need to get more seats. I know they need it. They need it. So they're going to throw everything at the kitchen sink. They're going to throw everything. I think what's the damn term? Everything but the kitchen thing. Everything and the kitchen sink. Something they're going to throw a kitchen sink. I don't know what the term is. Y'all know what it is. I don't know. They throwing stuff and they throwing the kitchen sink, or they not throwing it. They putting it up. There's something about a sink. Something getting thrown. Okay. I don't remember what the term is. Okay. Messed that up. They throwing everything. Okay. It says but the kitchen sink. Okay. It is but the kitchen sink. Okay. They throwing everything but the kitchen sink. I forgot, and I know that one too. I know that one. They throwing everything. Okay, but the kitchen sink. All right. Okay. I can't believe I forgot. I know that one too. That's crazy. Anyway, I want us to understand this is exactly what the Democrats going to be on this year. All right. Don, help yourself. Don't be bringing us up, and don't be trying to fearmonger. Their constitutional rights are being violated. Okay, and dude, you're talking about morality. We just saw you barge into a church during service. See, when you do stuff like that, you don't look like a moral activist. You kind of lose that credibility. See, if you were around some actual brothers and sisters who could tell you that that was the wrong thing to do, but you all up in white men's ass, figuratively and literally, you can't you be kissing their ass so much you probably you blinded by the fact that that was the wrong thing to do, Don. If you was around any FBA brothers or sisters, they would have told you whether they was Christian or not. Hey, don't do that. That's way too far. Don't do. Whoa. What are we doing? They would have looked at their watch. What time is this? People in there? Oh no, Don, come on, you tripping. They would have told you that. But you be around them white folk. Okay. So all right. I don't know how you didn't learn the first time, but okay. All right then. I kind of want to give you points for checking Nicki Minaj, but I mean, you a little late, so I can't really give you that much credit for it. Miss Nisi says, correction, Afro, that the black, but the pink tether party. Yeah, the Pink Panther tether party. The pink tether party. They ain't even real panthers. They like kittens. Like the pink kitten party. Ain't no real panthers. They ain't really doing nothing panther-like. Panthers are, mighty. They're not even like panthers. They're like little kittens. All right. Let me see. Let's get to Lucille the main. Says, I just hit 221. He says three-way wheel. He said three-way wheel in Dallas. Okay. Sharing the bread with my FBA brother Afro. I appreciate you, my brother. I appreciate that. That's love. Much love to you, brother. I appreciate that. I appreciate you. All right. Let's get to the next one. Hold on. Trini Carter says, why is ICE in Minneapolis? The fraud talk about that. Yeah, let's be honest. Come on now. Thank you. That said Detroit. What did I say? Did I say Detroit or Dallas? Did I say Detroit or I'm tripping tonight. That said Detroit. I said Dallas. I'm still thinking of Jasmine Crockett. I still got Dallas on the mind from Jasmine. That said Detroit. My bad. Shout out. What up, though? Shout out to my Detroit family. Okay. This is Detroit. I'm still thinking of Dallas. Shout out to Dallas and Detroit, though. Jasmine got me thinking of Dallas, not me. But yeah, all of the fraud that they've been doing, all of the scamming that they've been doing, come on. And they're making our civil rights are being violated. Okay, you being asked for your paper, is that a violation of your civil rights? Okay, let's reestablish what civil rights are. Like, you know what I'm saying? This is going to be what they are going to do. And the thing is that they're going to get in trouble for doing it. This right here, Don trying to explain himself. Don's getting in trouble. And Don knows he's in trouble. Don knows there's a chance he can get charges behind this. Don knows that. And this is my message to foundational Black Americans. Stay completely away from this situation. Stay away. Far away. This ain't got nothing to do with us. There's nothing in it for us besides trouble and charges. There's nothing in it for us at all. Stay away. That's the message of tonight, family. I appreciate y'all. Y'all make sure y'all hit that like button. Please and thank you. If you guys are new to the channel, please make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. If you guys have already been here and already been subscribed, please just double check. Just because of glitching, just double check. If you know, you know. If you do, I appreciate you. Thank you very much. My brothers and my sisters, we standing out of this. We are managing the community, our community. We're protecting each other. Okay. We're minding our own business the way we are supposed to be. We're not falling for this fear-mongering okie doke. We're not falling behind the tail of a white man like Don. Literally. We're not doing that. We know who we are, and we know what we need to be doing. And what we need to be doing is not what they're doing. All right? And that's the message for this evening. Black first to every single last one of you all, family. Thank you for watching. We were late today, but y'all were here tonight, so I appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you. And as always, y'all stay blessed.